Hola. Sí, yo doy una bienvenida de pie. Bueno, podemos, miren, acá hay más sillas. El apellido de Cristel, que ahora se me fue Coulen, por eso decía Culin. Entre Culin y Culin. Bueno, buenos días, gracias por estar aquí una vez más. O sea, viene la semana intensa y espero que estéis disfrutando y conociendo mucha gente. Hoy viene Jeroen, miren. Jeroen Chabot, de la Willem de Kooning Academy de Rotterdam, para contarnos cómo han innovado ellos en sus planes de estudio, en la formación, en relación a la sociedad y a las necesidades del entorno de su propia ciudad. Nos parece sumamente interesante. Es una gestión que hemos podido hacer gracias a Delfina Morán y a Cristel Culin de la Embajada de los Países Bajos, que una vez más nos apoya. No saben qué importante es para nosotros que nos acompañen para poder traer gente y que un poco admirar que ellos puedan querer difundir su cultura, sus pensadores, sus científicos por todas partes y que hoy los tenemos nosotros a Madrid. Gracias, Cristel, de verdad, por este apoyo continuo con la Bienal Iberoamericana de Diseño y con nosotros. Voy a dejar la palabra a Cristel y luego a Delfina, o a Delfina primero, no sé, me cuenta. Primero Cristel. Bueno.
La embajada primero. Pues nada, buenos días. Que Gloria ha dicho muchas cosas muy bonitas. Efectivamente, nosotros apoyamos y de todo corazón lo que se está haciendo aquí en la Central de Diseño en cuanto a la enseñanza de diseño. Estoy encantada de ver a tanto profesional aquí con interés por saber cómo se ha cambiado el plan de estudios de Willem de Kooning Academy. Krijg daar signalen dat ik moet opschrijven.
Otherwise they can't stream you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Step in the light.
Un cambio radical que empezó allá en el 2011 con la llegada de Jeroen Chabot a la Academy. Y cuando yo le pregunté en qué consistía ese cambio y el porqué del cambio, él solo dijo una palabra: la relevancia. Que para seguir siendo relevante una academia de arte y diseño tiene que tener una relevancia para con el mundo que nos rodea y dar soluciones a los problemas que nos encontramos por el camino. Pues también por ese mismo motivo la Embajada y el país, Holanda, apoya iniciativas que tienen un fuerte componente de diseño social, que tiene una importancia para el mundo que nos rodea, y la conferencia de Jeroen Chabot y luego el taller de Roger Teven, que espero que os apuntéis, forma parte de todo ese proyecto que estamos llevando a cabo tanto en Holanda como aquí en España. Enseñar es una tarea muy bonita, es preparar a los jóvenes para que conozcan un mundo que todavía todos desconocemos, un mundo que necesita soluciones. Es un desafío apasionante. Espero que disfrutéis con Jeroen. Gracias.
Bien, yo voy a ser muy breve. Buenos días a todos. Solo voy a explicar desde mi profesión como profesora de diseño y como responsable de los planes de estudios de algunos centros educativos aquí en España, cuál es la razón de haber invitado a Jeroen Chabot y a Roger Teven a este encuentro. Creo que muchos de nosotros estamos pensando cómo mejorar los planes de estudios que en gran medida empezaron en diseño en España, por lo menos empezaron en 2008 y que después de 7 años de andadura necesitan una revisión. En la institución en la que trabajo ahora, que es ESNE, comenzamos en abril a hacer este proceso y fue entonces cuando yo, hice una revisión de qué estaban haciendo en Europa entre otras escuelas de referencia, es la Willem de Kooning, que siempre ha sido muy buena. Yo tuve la suerte de estudiar allí un año y sigue siendo igual de innovadora e igual de, digamos, de avanzada en cuanto a la estructura de los planes de estudios. Y esta es la razón de que estos dos profesores estén hoy aquí. Jeroen nos va a hablar de las razones por las que se cambió el plan de estudios, respondiendo a un cambio en la sociedad, cambios sociales, económicos, políticos, tecnológicos también en gran medida. Y después Roger, va a impartir un taller donde vamos a poder analizar juntos cómo se llevó a cabo este cambio, es decir, cómo se implantó en el claustro, porque esto en el papel funciona todo, ya lo sabemos, ¿no? Siempre lo decimos, pero luego cómo se hace este cambio entre los profesores, cómo afecta, todos lo sabemos, ¿no? Cómo afecta a las materias que impartimos, cómo hay que actualizarse, qué pasa cuando alguien de pronto ve que sus asignaturas desaparecen y aparecen otras, ¿no? En fin, cómo se estructura toda la escuela en torno a un programa que además es verdaderamente innovador y no me atrevo a decir que revolucionario, porque esto ya pero cambia muchas cosas que él nos va a explicar. Entonces, esta es la razón de que estén aquí y yo espero que sea útil para todos nosotros. Bueno, pues nada más. Muchas gracias a ambos por estar. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks very much.
You know all what I thought.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I have to apologize that I have never mastered your beautiful Spanish language, and therefore I have to speak bad English. Maybe you can understand that as well. It's one of the languages most spoken all over the world. And I would really like to thank Delfina Moran for inviting us here, because not only is it very flattering, it's nice to be invited to talk about what you're doing at your art school, but it gives us an opportunity of sharing our ideas, and I hope that by having a dialogue with you, we can improve on our ideas, and you might get some inspiration or stimulation to either change things at your school or stick to what you already have. I try to make it as interactive as possible, so if you have questions, please ask them. If you don't agree, please wait till after the lecture. And if you have any problems understanding my English, please say so, because Delfina offered to help translate the really wicked language problems. Yeah? You're with me so far? Okay, thank you. Another thing is, I never stop talking about the art school and what we are doing. So when you get suicidal inclinations, please say so, then I'll quit my lecture, okay? I had this one. Yeah, this is where technique always becomes interesting. Huh? Does this help? I can do it without these horrible things. I'll start, and these slides will come of their own. In 2011, when I became Dean of the Willem de Kooning Academy in Rotterdam, there was a nationwide question coming from our parliament that the art schools in Holland, they are of good quality, but they should profile themselves more. We shouldn't do everything in the same way at these 12 different places where we offer art education. And and I started with our vice deans to discuss a completely new program because of the fact that actually, thank you very much. Actually, we think that a very long tradition of art and design. Actually, by the way, when I use art, I also mean design. For us, art and design education is one and the same thing. We often don't make the distinction between fine art and design. So don't feel left out. Art is design. We thought that century-old traditions of teaching art and design were coming to an end. And why did we think that? It was because a lot of very important changes are happening all over the world. And these changes are affecting us in a very profound, very severe way. And at the same time, when you look at the art schools and the way we used to teach art, you could say that our teachers who come from who themselves have been raised as artists or designers and who are part-time teachers, so they have a profession of their own, and maybe one day a week they come to the art school to teach, they teach the way they have been taught themselves. And they teach using their everyday experience in their profession as the background, as the inspiration for teaching students. So in a way, our teaching staff is not really inspired to radically change their attitude towards their discipline that they represent. And they're also not really motivated to change their teaching methodology. Whereas if you look at the problems that we're faced with, the huge migration, the enormous developments in technology, the growth of mega cities where everyone tends to go and live, they pose completely different questions and almost unsurmountable problems where only creative people can come up with solutions. But then we should train our students to be able to handle the problems of now, contemporary and future society. And that's because we wanted to change this. And we wanted to make our curriculum, I thought that Crystal already mentioned that we made a transition from artistically nice to relevant for society. We wanted to be relevant. And we saw that all sorts of new courses, both at universities, were coming up, dealing with stuff that usually we did. So for instance, in the communication industry, a whole lot of technicians, because they are very well aware of coding and programming, they come up with solutions and they come up with technology involved in making pictures, whereas they were not really good trained in a visual vocabulary, which is the domain of the arts. So around us, we saw all sorts of new courses at universities, and our students tend to draw back from society, tend to go back to the artistic skills, the crafts. And actually we did a survey on all the third-year students of art schools in Holland. And the students, and the conclusion of the survey on how they use technology and how our teaching staff is using technology, they come up with the conclusion that they rather design a poster than a website. And if they design a website, they design the visual aspect, but not the actual working of a website. And that's why, for instance, publications, books on iPads, Kindle e-readers, or smartphones still look so ridiculously old-fashioned because they resemble a book. Whereas the technology of these kind of instruments are open for a completely different approach to how things can be read and can be augmented by virtual reality, by film, by all sorts of new media and knowledge. But we don't know how to design it because we don't train our students to program. To give just one example. The world is changing and our profession is changing as well. Alice Temlow, a very smart lady who actually founded at the School of the Visual Arts in New York, the MFA on critical design thinking. You should look her up. She described our nowadays profession as post-disciplinary. The former traditional disciplines are actually not that relevant anymore. And all sorts of new professions within our profession, within our world, are originating almost every day. We have the obligation as teachers and as schools to teach our students how to be able to be relevant and to cope with the circumstances that they will meet 10, 20 years after graduating. So, like Delphina said to me while we were discussing and you were coming in a way we are teaching the past, but we should teach the future. So changing professions in a changing world ask something different from our students. But who are our students actually? Our students in Holland are usually 18, 19 years old. They've just finished vocational or high school training. They have led a very sheltered life. And when they come, they come to the art school after an examination, an entrance examination, and they expect to become photographer, fashion designer, artist, product designer, graphic designer. And they absolutely don't know what kind of world and what kind of changes within the profession are waiting for them. And this extremely complex world that we are training them for, that we are obliged to prepare them for, asks something from our teachers. Our teachers who, as I said, have usually 1, maybe 2 days a week as a teaching job, but then they are the director, the owner of their own design company. They actually are committed to the students and to the course they are given. So if, for instance, your job is to teach typography, that's what you do. Every Monday morning between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, you teach typography. No matter if the students are interested in that story, no matter if it's relevant for what they're doing with the other courses and the other teachers, your job is you own typography and you explain typography to your students. And you are very, very committed to it. And the students love you for it, because you are this role model, this great example that you would like to follow, and you have so much to teach them. At the same time, you're building a monument for the past. So we thought that if we have to prepare our students to be really able to cope with the problems of nowadays society, then, and this is such a complex thing, we also have to change our teaching core. We have to change our teachers, not because they are bad, no, they are wonderful, and they are enthusiastic, and they are committed, and they're the best ever. But there are very, very lousy teachers because they were never raised to become a teacher. Not so very long ago, I was at a big conference in Scandinavia, and one of the keynote speakers asked in this room, how many of you are artists? And almost everyone raises his hand. And how many of you are teachers? No one. Whereas at the same time, they earn their money by teaching students. And teaching is a profession. So when we changed our curriculum, or when we had the plans to change our curriculum, we went to all the teaching teams and we explained to them it's a difficult, complex world. Yes, it is. They thought so as well. And there are some very wicked, nasty design and art problems waiting for our students that we really have to deal with. Yes, yes, we do. So that means that if we are able to address that, we need very good teachers. Yeah, that's also true. That means that half of you will be gone in 3 months. Yes, that's a logical conclusion. That's the fun part of working in Rotterdam. I've worked at other art schools in Holland, and I must say that something like this can be done at another art school. But the people from Rotterdam, they are pragmatic, realistic, and if you have a good argument, they are willing to go with that. So we explained that we needed teachers. So everyone who wants to be a teacher has to accept a job of more than part-time. So a job that is at least 3 days a week. So your loyalty and your commitment is not only to the students, but also to the institute and the program. And the teaching staff that we also need, who have a very modern, actual profession, but want to be part-time and have only a small assignment, we keep them for not any longer than 2 to 3 years. Otherwise, they get accustomed to the job. They behave like full-time teachers, whereas they are not. And that was reasonable. So in that summer, about 60 teachers left, and about 40 came in, and the difference was made up by more teaching staff that got bigger assignments, and they were all trained to become good teachers. So we gave them courses on pedagogy and didactics, and we invited them to work on this new program that we wanted to have. So they were the owners of the new program. And this ownership, we were not telling them what to do. Well, not in a very visible way, you could say. But they were invited to develop the new program. We took 2 years for that, and we gave them all sorts of help. We invited artists and designers to discuss with them the new things that were happening in the profession. We also invited specialists on education who improved the pedagogical skills of the teachers, and they came up with a beautiful program. At the same time, this program that they were coming up with was not exactly to our needs, you could say. Thinking about if the world is changing and if the professions are changing, why are we still raising graphic designers and interior architects and fashion designers as if nothing is going to change? And we thought that we should do it radically differently. And we came up with the idea that in a way, and it's a artificial way, but in a way you could say that the person of a student and the way the student uses his artistic ambitions is very important for the way he will function after graduating. So if you, as an artist or designer, wants to give your own assignments and work in your studio and present the world with your products, and you have to find a market for that, that's a completely different way of working. And that means that you have to build on a completely different kind of network and have to make use of very specific financial models to be able to exist afterwards. If you compare that to people who like to use their artistic creativity and work in a commercial context. If you want to work for big companies, you are a worthwhile, honest artist, but it's not about expressing yourself as much as it is about helping the commissioner reach his goals and make great advertising campaigns or design very good services or whatever. But you speak a different language. You know how to deal with marketeers. You have to know about production. You have to know about budgets in a completely different way than from this first student. And the social practice, because it all came down in 3 practices, the social practice means that you have that you use your artistic ambitions to help improve society. And therefore you look for the hidden creative talents in the people you work with. And you use that and you speak to that and you make them aware of their hidden talents to create a place in the world for themselves. I should have clicked all this, but this is at the heart of what we did. So the student comes in, and he begins immediately in a major, graphic design, photography. But gradually, he has to look for what am I going to do with my discipline, what I'm going to do with the skills I've mastered. And these skills and these insights are being used within one of the 3 practices, a commercial practice, a social practice, or a autonomous practice. Is this readable also in the, yeah? Am I boring you already, or do I make sense still? Yeah? No questions, objections, other anxieties? And this is what I expressed about these practices. So, and we use these practices. Ah, dank je. Delphina understands Dutch, so I can say dank je to her. I use it like this. Thanks. So now we've changed the teaching staff and made them aware that they have to be teachers to be able to help these 18, 19-year-old students be aware of that they are trained in a completely different way than they expected. We wanted them to work together. A teacher is not the sole owner of some kind of unique knowledge. No, knowledge is all around us. As a matter of fact, people around us on internet are more... that's the kind of glass I like, thank you. On the internet you can find more sophisticated knowledge and all sorts of fantastic examples of design and technology, maybe even more and better than a teacher can come up with. So what's the importance of a teacher? The teacher is a coach who helps the students develop their talents and develop their insights. So you're not the owner of this course, but as a team you work together. And as a team you share the responsibility of coaching your group of students to a fitting role in the profession. Can I stay here? They never do that at the Willem de Kooning Academy. Thank you. But that's not the only thing. If you are going to teach like this, and if you say that knowledge is shared by everyone, we thought that actually the teaching staff is really very important, because students have to learn from their teachers. But mostly, especially later on in their courses, they learn more from each other than from their teachers. In the end, you could say that the really good teachers are able to learn from their students. So we wanted to have real challenges, real assignments from the outside world. The outside world should come into the art school. Students should be working with these practices on real assignments, coached by teams of teachers, and not only working within their own artistic discipline, but working together with students from other disciplines. And we came up with a hairy, adventurous, almost hard to understand matrix of subjects. On top you can see the practices, autonomous practices, social practices and commercial practices. And we defined 12 topics, 12 themes. Or actually, we designed 4 themes. You can see them hardly over here. Experience strategies, open source, which is technology. It's a wrong name, but we use it for technology, but it says something about the way we approach technology. Public space, and in transit, which means everything that strives for innovation or change. When you look at, for instance, experience strategies, that is a theme that is about how do you change, how do you influence people? How do you, to say it in a bad way, no, I'm not going to say it in a bad way. But influencing people gets a new meaning if you look at it from this practice point of view. So if you want to influence people and you're working as an artist or designer in an autonomous practice, we found that hacking, at least for now, is a very good theme, is a very good attitude maybe, towards influencing people by filling already existing systems with your own meaning. Now, of course, this immediately presented us with a security problem within the art school, because all the students that went to hacking thought it had to do with hacking the system of our art school. But it also, and Roger, if you're able and willing to go to his workshop, he will also present examples of what students did with hacking. But hacking, or experience strategy, is something completely different within the scope of social practices. And we choose gamification as a way to influence people and to make them aware of situations. So gamification is not, especially not put within the context of a commercial practice, because we do not believe that we, within the commercial practices, should add to the gaming industry. We don't have that much to add to them. But gamification in a social context is a very, very good instrument to make people aware and to collect people and rally them to specific issues or needs. Now, and these 12 topics, they can be evaluated every year. Right now, we don't think that branding is that hot and that good anymore. So probably in a year or two time, branding will have gone. Service design, for instance, is one of the things that we are feeling very strongly about. The design of services instead of products by creative people is extremely important in also within this commercial context in improving the way people work, in improving the understanding of the identity of a brand, but also in solving all sorts of communication and other problems. So, this idea of graduating within one of the three practices, where the students live together and work together with students from other disciplines, is quite important. At the same time, when you say that the students learn from each other, we have to create an environment where they all can meet each other, where students are not locked away in classrooms and the teacher has the sole key, but we want to have an open environment with a new concept of workshops where the students work in the workshops and can meet in adjacent workplaces. And we invented completely new workshops, and we call them stations. So for instance, we have an interaction station. Of course, we have a metal workshop and a wood workshop and a graphic workshop, but they're not, at least to us, not that interesting anymore. But an interaction station deals with everything that has to do with interactivity, both in analog ways and digital ways. And for instance, a publication station is the coming together of the former graphic workshop for engraving, but also the lead and the wood printing workshops that the graphic designers used to like. But it also provides plotting, laser cutters, 3D printers, as well as the knowledge of teachers who know how to teach you to code or to program for e-readers. So everything that is connected to publicizing an idea or a manifesto or whatever, every student that meets the necessity of making his work public can go to the public station and can get the training there that he needs to publicize his ideas. At the end, you can see a business station. All our alumni complain about the fact that they were not trained for what's happening to them after they graduate. And although we did, they never recognized it as such. And they thought, well, it was all about art, and it was all about concept, but I don't know how to earn my money. So the business station was developed as a place where students can go to when they want to, and are being taught how to set up their own company, how to work with a changing organization of the work within the creative industries, because there are less and less big companies, design companies anymore. You usually work on your own, and you have to build on alliances to be able to handle complex problems. And so we rearranged the building as well. Now, of course, every new dean has to make his own building. I know that. That's an unwritten rule. But anyway, but in this case, we did it because we had to fit the existing school, which are two buildings adjacent to each other, and to make it completely open. Everywhere where you see glass now used to be concrete walls, and you couldn't see what's behind that. And the yellow lines that you see over there, now I can make use of this thing. These yellow lines mark where former walls were standing, and this was all, as much as we were able to, we created big open spaces with heavy equipment and places for students to sit and work. Now this gives you more or less an impression. You should come visit us. Last thing I would like to mention on these pictures is my personal dream, actually. This is me standing in the Willem. The Willem de Kooning Academy is called in Rotterdam shortly the Willem. Yeah, the Willem, that's a nice art school. And we had a cantina, a yeah, what you call it, a bar? No, not a bar. In a bar you can drink. Cafeteria. We had our cafeteria on the first floor of one of our buildings. Only for the students, nobody liked it, no one was ever there, yeah, when you were punished. So we thought we have to bring it down to the ground floor, and we want to have our own Grand Café, our restaurant and bar. Because that's where people from outside the art school, and we are in the middle of the city of Rotterdam, with a lot of tourists and a lot of people working and living there, people can actually come in, use our restaurant, meet our students there, and thereby they are open to comment, to have a dialogue, to buy the work of the students, things like that. 2 weeks before our last summer holiday, we didn't have someone to handle the Willem, and the contract with the former company was expired. So actually I was thinking, well, we are going to have students to make their own bread and stuff, and every day we deliver some goods for them. But during the summer holidays, we actually got a company that invested in the Willem, and now we have our restaurant, which is open to the public, and which opens, in a way, the whole school for society. So this actually is the Willem de Kooning Academy now. We have been building on this concept and the problems that occurred between 2011 and now, in the last academic year, 2014-2015, all the courses have been changed to the new curriculum. And you can imagine that something like this didn't go easy. Student satisfaction has never been so low. We are considered one of the worst art schools in Holland. And that is more or less reasonable, because the students, when they came in, they expected to have their beautiful photos hanging on a white wall at the end at graduation. And the students from fashion were expecting to have this collection that was shown on a catwalk. When you look, on the other hand, at how the students look back on what they've experienced, they are really very enthusiastic. So, for instance, the fourth year that graduated, the fashion students that graduated last year, they were told, well, we don't see the reason for a fashion show, do you? Because we try to discuss everything with the students. That's part of this open learning environment, this community of practice. And they came up, well, actually, it's one of the worst polluting industries of the world. So why should we make all sorts of clothing that is never going to be made, as if this was a contribution to this polluting industry? And if you don't have to design a collection, what are you going to do for graduation? Knowing that these problems are within society and are waiting to be dealt with. And they came up with something completely different, which Roger will show you later on if you want to, and still interested in. This is more or less what I would like to share with you. I don't know if I've run out of time very much. Yes. This is the moment where you can ask questions. Yeah. Both. The teaching teams are obliged to organize instructions for larger groups, especially for the students in the lower grades. And afterwards, students that have a problem, they can go there, and there are always teachers and technical instructors that can help you solving your problems. And we also try to have students have a little job, so the senior students can teach other students basic skills. But we also have tutors there who work for the station and do research, because within technology and within these stations, there's a lot to be learned and to be developed. And we actually have one teacher who is very highly paid, and she has the function of an innovation manager, which she hates, but this is exactly what she does. She does research in new technology that should be brought into these stations. So these stations are a community of practice. It's a learning environment where you can go to be helped, where you can learn, where you can be taught, but also where you meet and experiment. Yeah.
How many students do you have, and if it's an open academy, or how come the students get in the academy?
When I subtract, we have a very large, we are one of the biggest, I suppose, we are the biggest art school in Holland. When you subtract an economic course called leisure management with about 400 students, then when we started in 2011, we had about 2,200 students. And of these 2,200 students, almost 200 did fine art, and all the rest did design. And we had master courses in the Piet Institute. So it's a really big school. Now, 5 years later, it's a good question. Now I'm going to speak for more than 10 minutes, I'm afraid. The rate of the students that were allowed to enter in 2011 were about 80% of the students that applied for a place were allowed to enter. And the entrance examination was a discussion on your portfolio and a commission, a specific assignment that you had to make at home, and a 20 minutes discussion on your portfolio, and this assignment was actually the way people were admitted or not. So the overall, the admittance rate was 80%. But less than 50% of the students actually graduated within 5 years. So we thought that this is absolutely not done. You can't have all these students enter the course, and after they've created a huge study debt and they can't do anything more, we send them away. So we said the entrance examination should be a very, very honest, but also a heavy affair. So nowadays they have to work at the art school for the whole day. They work on different assignments, and a team of assessors are looking at the way they work, looking at their portfolio, and have discussions with them. And at the end of the day, when all the work is presented and discussed, the two assessors meet afterwards and they compare notes, and then you get advice. And you're either admitted or you're advised to go to the police academy or something like that. Now, the entrance rate is between 30 to 40%. And we hope that the overall turnover of students will increase to at least 70% toto. Right now, and having this very severe selection, that meant that a big part of the student population dropped. So right now we are at about 1,900 students, and we want to go back to about 2,200, because that's what we actually need to make us able to have all the facilities and also a large part of a good part of teaching staff. So the amount of students decreased, the amount of teachers decreased as well, but now we have an enormous raise in the very short stay part-time teaching staff. And we build on this within the Kooning teaching staff that help their colleagues coming from outside to fit into an educational system. Yeah.
I really
No, I think, can you hear me? Okay. I love a word that is recurring within your presentation, which is relevance. Considering that the school, was founded in 1772, I think it was. 73. Spectacular. I mean, some countries weren't even independent at that time. So my question is the following. When you started with this project of the shift, in terms of operations, in terms of the philosophy, how long did it take to get to the point that you felt this is the school, this is what we want now, this is the new vision coming, to life? And was it something that you told the team, we need to get this done in the year, 2 years for the next class that comes in 3 years? I mean, what was the time frame that you had as a goal?
When we started, you could say this vision on what we would like to attain was built within a couple of months. And we shared that with the most important teaching staff. Building it, working on it, we were aware that this kind of changes within an educational organization are really very hard. The fact that everyone, or more or less everyone, accepted the ideas and the changes and the ideals made that we expected to make this new program in 1 year. And we expected to start a new curriculum in 2013. While working, and the good thing is that everyone, all the teachers, all the instructors, everyone involved was really convinced, and still is convinced, of the fact that maybe this is not the only solution, but at least we have a workable solution to actually be relevant for the next couple of years. But making and designing this new program was very difficult, because the teaching staff aren't well-trained teachers. And they spent a lot of time on talking about concepts, and they had to write it all down. They're not writers. So we postponed the introduction of the new program with 1 year, and then we started only with the first year and the fourth year, the graduation year. And in the meantime, we also tried to get the students to be a part of this huge development. And one of the biggest mistakes maybe we made was that we didn't really succeed in getting the students to feel a part of the change that we were making, and they felt that it was something that was thrown over them. That was also that's why we had so many disappointed students at first. Although not that many students left, I must say. So they adjusted to changing environment, and in a way, especially the first time in the fourth year, these new students that graduated, at first they were really very angry, and after a month working with completely new student group and new teachers, they really loved it. Not because the idea was so nice maybe, but they really liked the idea of working together with other students on other issues and with other teachers. And I expect that this will take about 3 years to really get together, to build on new routines, because we don't have any routine left. And our teaching staff need routines, and the students need routines to fall back on. But the awareness and the conviction that what we are doing is worthwhile, you can see that everywhere. And the building oozes this idea about wanting to be relevant. Does this answer your question a little bit? Yeah? Thank you. We have about if you combine all the teaching staff with tenure and a part-time job, we have about 350 teachers, not counting the people that are coming only for one lesson or for one presentation. If you add that to that, it will be over 400. That includes, by the way, the administrative staff. So it's rather big. Although not everyone has a full-time assignment. So when you look at the FTE, maybe the full-time equivalent, it's the full-time positions, we have about 175 FTE. So these 350 people are divided over 175 full-time equivalents. This is a bit technical, guys, but you'll learn it.
In relationship with these two questions, where do you find your teacher? Where do you select the teachers?
Yeah, the teachers find themselves. That is, yeah. And one of the things is as a dean, we think that giving the teachers ownership of the program, we also make them in charge of the program. So, for instance, one of the brilliant things we did, which didn't work out that well, is we got rid of the central schedule. We don't make a schedule for the lessons anymore. We think that the teams of teachers should make their own schedule, and they should make their they should design their program in relationship to the best educational form for what the students need. So, for instance, we had a schedule before 2011, a schedule where by illustration, with illustration, students got 2 hours of drawing every Monday morning. Horrible. A complete waste of time and money and energy, and the students hardly learned anything. 2 hours is far too little. At the time that the model was undressed, we already had to pick up your stuff and leave. But it also didn't play into what the students actually needed. So we said, well, within this team, if you are responsible for instance, for drawing techniques, be clear on what kind of drawing and what your targets are, and the students should be clear on what your targets are as well, and take the time necessary. So if you have in your, so if you if you have about 40 teaching hours for a quarter of a year as a teacher, you can spend, for instance, 3 whole days in a row to teaching. Just inform your students and your colleagues that you're working that way, but in that way you can make more use of your time and therefore more use of our money than by having this regular annual schedule. That doesn't work. Now the teaching staff was very excited about this, and we were enormously popular till the year started, and everyone was asking his colleague, "Did you make a schedule?" And no one had a schedule, and the students were angry. Having the authority, the ownership of the course, if there is a vacancy, or if you want to have a guest teacher or a lecturer to come to your, well, you have a small budget and you are free to get this lecturer or guest teacher. And if we have a full-time vacancy, we ask the teaching staff to come up with suitable candidates. Only when it comes to tenure, the vice deans, like for instance Roger, they discuss if they want to have this person for tenure. And as we have now considerably less students, we have considerably less money, so there is no tenure at the Willem de Kooning Academy. for the coming 2-3 years. Yeah.
For this new learning model that you created, I'm sure you had to face many challenges. And how did you deal with those challenges in regards to outside governing institutions, accreditation, working and collaborating with other institutions, etc.?
That's a good one as well. In 2013, I was invited to present the new curriculum on a conference in the United States. One of our lifelong partners, Micah in Baltimore, a very good school, were aware of what we were doing because we shared that. And they invited us to a conference that they organized for 50 independent art schools in the United States. And I presented more or less this story, although we weren't as far and we didn't have all the negative experiences as well. So I made a real American story about bigger and prices and stuff. And then one of the questions in the audience was, yeah, but you don't have to deal with accreditations and stuff. Well, actually, we have almost as a severe accreditation procedure as the people in Britain and in the United States. And imagine we have this huge change, and it was affected in September with the introduction of the new year. And 3 weeks later, we had a visitation panel for the accreditation. No guts, no glory, we said. And we came through it. You have to deal with things like this. But if you really believe that you are doing the right things, and well, being invited here, everyone is aware that we should change things in a rather drastic and radical way, otherwise we'll become redundant. So this panel also saw the energy, the pride, the commitment of the teaching staff, and yeah, that was convincing itself. So yeah. It's part of the process, the hardships. Well, I don't really agree. They're not very forward thinking. They gave us a sufficient, whereas I thought that we should have earned a excellent. Well, we see to that in the next 6 years.
One last question. Yeah, I'm a current student here in Madrid studying product design, and there's 3 things by my humble opinion, I would like to talk about. Maybe could be revised. First thing is sustainability. I believe should be taught to those 3, like the social practice, the 3 of them basically. Second of all, you said that open source practices also are only taught to the social ones, and as you said, you're working on open source practices, so I believe that it also should be taught to the 3 of them. And last thing is, you said there's like a business hub, that there's like people that go there to ask the questions, and as I see it, that is missing here, and also in the course you said, would be a sort of entrepreneurial practices or skills. That there's, for example, I've been in an entrepreneurial course, and they talk a lot about design thinking, and we as designers maybe don't need design thinking. So maybe if we base our studies on entrepreneurial aspects, like for example, the lean startup method or something, the final products would be like more focused on the market, and basically that.
Well, 3 good points. The first one on sustainability, I completely agree with you. And sustainability or aspects of sustainable solutions is a part of all our education, but right now, at the moment, and as I said, these things are being revisioned every 2 years. We think that sustainability in a more emphasized, critical, bigger role is flagged within this social practice. So it's not only the place where we look for sustainable aspects in the design process, but it's made a main feature of it. And it has also to do not only with working in a sustainable way or making use of sustainable materials and stuff, but it has also to do with, for instance, topics of creating a sustainable economic. So, but there are all sorts of new economic systems. Only in Rotterdam we have 3 different coinages, apart from the euro. Now, it's topics like that we look into when you study sustainability in the end. The workspaces, the stations are open for all the students. So although open design as an attitude with its own maybe non-existing economic model underneath it, is just one aspect of the openness, but the openness of the art school and the openness of the stations is that goes for everyone. And you're absolutely right if you say that aspects of entrepreneurship should be part of the training from the first day onwards. And we try to do that. But in a way, teachers tend to immediately change when they cross the threshold, where they know how to work the economics of their company. They're not interested anymore when they pass within the art school, and everyone seems to forget about it. Therefore, the business station actually was made as a place where the teaching staff was educated, was trained to be more aware of how they could integrate entrepreneurial aspects in their classes. But it was not enough. And at the end, when you look at especially at 3rd and 4th year students, they really wanted to have more. And that's why we made this business station also accessible for the students and actually also for alumni. So I more or less completely agree with you. Thank you.
The last one. No.
Was it hard to incorporate this vision with the teachers? How was it?
Not hard at all. Now, that was really one of the things that made me really very, very proud. As I said, when when I applied for the job of Dean, I had to present my ideas for the future of the art school, and this was more or less what I intended to achieve. But you can't go in an art school and say, okay, guys and girls, we always went to the left, and now we're going completely to the right. So first of all, we had this 2-day conference with the most important teaching staff, and we discussed all the problems that I thought that this system would provide a solution for, and they agreed. So we had a commitment of the most important teachers, and then together we went to all the teachers. And that was the fun part of being in Rotterdam. Before that, I worked for 5 years at an art school in the south of Holland, and it would never have occurred. Although it was a great school, and I don't want to criticize it, but if I would introduce an idea like that there, they would ask all sorts of definition questions. And you know, when someone asks the definition, you know he's saying no. So if you're involved in a changing organization, please make sure that no one is allowed to ask questions on definition, because they actually are saying, no, I don't want it. And that school was, and it never occurred in here. And then we gave them the opportunity and the trust that they could come up with a new program. So they're really very proud. It's their program. And although we because of the cuts in the budgets, we have to cut hours and stuff, they hate me for it. But at the same time, they still feel very proud and are really very committed to get this new curriculum on the road. So yeah, it's great to be in Rotterdam. That's it? Yeah? Well, thanks very much for being so... One thing before you leave. If you're interested, we made a booklet in which we described this process, and which also has some essays of research professors we have at the art school. If you're interested, please leave your visiting card here, and I'll send you a free copy. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Nosotros tenemos un taller que prácticamente está cerrado para la tarde. Si alguien está interesado, hable con nosotros a ver cómo podemos sumar. Por la tarde seguimos y no os habíamos contado los lugares donde podéis comer. Hay lugares de menú de 10 euros, por aquí enfrente Taberna Criolla, El Mirador, hacia la esquina también tenéis una serie de lugares, hay un restaurante chino aquí cerca, aquí dentro de Matadero La Cantina, hay otro restaurante aquí, pero el otro restaurante que está aquí dentro, ese no lo recomendamos así en general por la relación calidad-precio, pero si no todo por alrededor hay lugares